Hello everybody, welcome back to Mike's Fitness and Food. This is episode 2 of our obstacle course build. Now, obviously nothing else has changed. I'm not going to do things without it's on camera, so you guys can keep up with what I'm doing. As we can see, I've got my lines here and everything else. It's only been a couple of days since I did episode 1. This is going to be, episode 2 is going to be me digging holes with that lovely manual thing. I don't have the electric one, so it's going to be a beautiful workout. I got a hat, otherwise I'm going to burn my bald head. Got some gloves, as you can see. So yeah, today, this episode is going to be digging holes, which I will record a little bit and then speed up just so you guys can all laugh at me digging holes. After that, it's going to be chainsawing, chopping up wood, probably putting the depending if I want to go that far in the episode, putting the logs into the holes just to get our barriers up and some more preparation pretty much. So it's going to be digging holes, chopping wood, possibly placing some logs and preparing more for the next stage, which is going to be building the over-unders completely and getting started on our ramp and our rope traversal. But all of that's going to take a bit more. I also have to be heading into town to get more bolts, screws, some boards for my platforms, all that sort of fun stuff. So I haven't ordered the rope for the rope traversal yet, but that's going to be on order very soon. So I'm going to be happy to show that off on camera, hopefully at episode 3-ish, maybe 4. We'll see how many episodes this will take, because it all depends what I do in each episode, I suppose. But that's going to be the gist of it. We're going to do some digging. So I'm going to rip these beautiful pegs out that I've marked. I'm going to do a little bit of digging. Probably have to get fairly deep for each pole and go from there. So I got at least 8 deep holes to dig for the start. And then I need to figure out how exactly I'm going to build our ramp climb. But that's obviously also going to require holes. So 12. Anyone ever see that movie Holes? That's pretty much what I'm doing here right now. But yeah, 12 holes minimum. The rope traversal platforms are going to be their own thing. I'm not sure if I'm going to start on that this episode, because that construction in itself is probably the biggest part of phase 1, because I have to build 2 proper platforms as well as jerry rig a thing to actually hold my rope stable enough so you can traverse along it, crawl along it. But that's going to be the gist of it. We're going to do some digging. There's not going to be too much talking in this episode. I know the last episode was close to 20 minutes. Most of it was just me chatting, but that was explaining everything, I suppose. So this episode is going to be me digging here and having a break to chat about what's going on. The grass is already growing like crazy, but that's going to be maintenance all throughout, unless I turn all this into gravel and sand or whatever else we're going to do. It could be something nice. Again, I'm rambling on. It could be something nice to actually really barrier this off with some nice big boards, turn this whole track into some sand or gravel, just so it's more like a proper track. But those are all add-ons that can be changed at some later point in time. So what we're going to do is the digging, the chainsawing, some more measuring and planning, and hope it all actually goes well. I'm hoping the ground's going to be good enough to dig. It's been raining a fair bit, so hopefully it should be nice and soft, but it's definitely still going to be a pain with the manual tool. I do have shovels, pickaxes, all that stuff, so yeah, we're going to get started and we'll see how we go. wow, that was a decent exercise. So what I failed to mention is that this whole ground here is pretty much clay, which is why you probably saw me banging the little hole digger, because the clay was sticking to it. I got sort of lucky because it's been raining here a fair bit, so the clay was mostly mush, but there was a fair few tree roots in my way, which was painful. As you can see, it's been a decent workout. I'm sweating. So I've done all the holes for the over-unders. They're all about 400 or 40 centimeters deep, which they don't need to be super deep, and which is also why I won't be concreting them in, because it's not, they don't need to be super set in stone. Like you're not climbing on these things. If you know what I'm talking about, over-unders, like this thing will be over. You jump over it. You're really only putting a tiny bit of pressure on it and jumping over it. The under, it's going to be, you go under it. It's pretty simple, over under. They don't need to be super hard in the ground. It's they're not a structure you're climbing on pretty much, but that's why I'm still going about 40 centimeters deep. The pole is going to probably be about 1.20 meters. So we've got, what, we got a third of the pole on the ground. That's roughly sort of what you want to have it stable. And I mean, once it's in and the clay around it hardens up, it's gonna, don't worry, it's gonna be pretty hard in there. The only time you're not really gonna want to use it is right after the rain, and then it's gonna be mushy out here anyway. So I also dug my holes for the ramp. Now the ramp is going to be a different sort of, that's going to be more a work in progress. Ramp will most likely require some concrete, because for one, you are going to be climbing on it, sort of climbing over it. That's why I did dig the holes a little deeper for the ramp. The ramp holes are about 50 centimeters in the ground. Probably can go lower, but more than likely what I will end up doing is digging more of a hole around it and getting some pre-mixed concrete, putting it around that, because it's the structures that are going to be stood on, climbed on, all that sort of stuff. You obviously want a bit more stable so that people don't fall off. I didn't do anything for the rope traversal. Now, the whole reason for that is the rope traversal I'm going to be most likely making its own episode out of, because that's going to be, like I said earlier, it's going to be a big build. Like, I need to build a platform each end, so that's going to be four poles, 4 pillars, and 4 holes on each end. So 8 holes, 8 poles. They need to all be measured out properly. I need to measure out a nice square of where I want it. They need to all be set in properly with concrete. And then we're going to need to build a nice platform that you can stand on, so it's high enough off the ground so that you can obviously climb over the rope to the other side. So that's where that's going to be its own video. It's probably going to be a full video. I'm going to make it. I'm going to be digging it, building it, all in one video. Obviously with cuts in and out, waiting for concrete to set and that sort of stuff, a day or two in between. But it's going to be its own video, so that can be exciting to watch. But today we've dug the holes. Next up, we're going to get the chainsaw ready, and we're going to chop some trees. So there won't be much to really watch there. I'll bring the camera along. We'll start up the chainsaw and we'll have some fun. But it's, yeah, more than likely what I'm going to do still in this video is I'm going to plop the poles in. So then we know what we need. We can line up the logs for everything that we do need for that as well. And we won't get started on the ramp in this video, more than likely because the ramp will also be a bit more of a construction. All right, let's not dilly-dally any longer. Let's get to it. All right, now it's on to the fun part. We're going to be chopping some wood. Need to clear the property a bit anyway for fire danger. So this is sort of a 2-in-1 job. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, which is just absolutely cruel. Obviously, I need to find specific logs. So I'm going to be clearing stuff out regardless. So this is going to be a full day job for me. So I'm not going to record much of the chopping. I am gonna record it back once I've got my logs that I need, so you guys can see what I'm doing with them, and then when I'm actually placing them, so you're still keeping up with what I'm doing. But there's gonna be a lot of wood to play with. Had to throw that in there. Yeah, so a lot of chopping. We're gonna need at least, what do we say? 8 logs. A minimum of 8 logs for the over-unders, and that's just the poles. And then the over is gonna be fully built up, so we're gonna need probably at least 4 down. So we're up to 8, 12, 16 for the 2, and then the under just really needs the 1 across. So we're up to 18. 18 good, nice, thick logs. And then for the ramp is also going to be built out of logs I have here, because that needs that can have a rustic look. That doesn't need to be all fancy. Whereas the rope traversal is going to be built out of things that are proper material, mostly. So it's probably safe to aim for a good 30 to 40 good, decent sized logs. That's going to be obviously the hard part, because I'm going to want a specific type of tree, because I got a lot of paper bark and stuff like that. I'm not going to use that because that's fairly soft wood. So I need to look for more the other types. I'm not a tree guy, I don't know what they're all called. So we're going to need at least a good 30 or so of those, which is going to be the hard part, because I need to clear away the scrap, clear away the shrub to get to the good stuff, and then find some that are actually nice and straight and to the thickness that I need. So all right, enough jokes about thick wood. All right, we're gonna get to it. I'm gonna start this off camera because I haven't started in a while. I don't want to look like an idiot. It's taking like 20 minutes to start a chainsaw. So I will see you all when this is done. Wish me luck that I don't pass out in this heat. My dog's already having a nap. All right, I'll catch you all next time, or later. Alrighty, so I've done a fair bit of clearing of the woods, a little bit back there and around the side. Now, the hard part was really finding the logs I wanted. So I'm not even sure I'm happy with the ones I've chopped. There might have to be some reimagining and spending a bit more money on this project than I was hoping for. So I might have to end up heading to Bunnings, the hardware store, tomorrow, and check out some prices for what we've got. I'm going to plop these in. I'm not going to dig them in. I'm not going to fasten these until I'm certain whether I'm going to change my mind or not. I've chopped a bunch of logs. One of the hardest parts as well was really finding some nice 3-meter logs, because I want this to be a 3-meter gap. And finding some nice trees that I was able to chop that had a good straight 3 meters was harder than I thought it was going to be. So I don't really have enough. I mean, there could be more that could be chopped, but at the moment I don't have enough. So my thinking is that I'm gonna probably have to invest in some treated pine timbers, maybe for the poles as well as the lengths. Problem will be how many I'm going to need. I'm going to need at least, what are we going to say, 8 for the over-unders, then 1 each for the unders, so already at 10, and then probably about 3 to 4 going across for the overs. So let's say 3, so we're already at 16. Then we're going to need poles for the back end, for the ramp. 1 short ones, which we can probably cut a bit off the top of some of the other ones. So short, some 3-meter long high ones, and then we need either planks or more rounds going up that you have to climb with a rope attached to the end. So there's another 4, so it's probably about 20. Yeah, and then we obviously come to the rope traversal, which is going to be a fair bit more, because that's going to be you know. My brain's not working. I've been working in the heat. That's going to be planks and all sorts of stuff. So let's just pop these in. I am going to pop these in just so I know where everything's going to be sitting. Obviously it's going to fall over a little bit. I'm not too worried about, as you can probably see, there's like a some of the ends aren't straight, but I'm not too worried about that if I use them, because I can just face them outwards. This is more just support pillars to put something on to designate the area where everything's going to happen. Because as you can probably imagine, so what's going to happen is, like for the unders, all I'm really going to do, because I wanted about hip height, so these still have to be even cut down a bit. So hip height roughly, where you have a pole going across and you have to go under. And with the overs, we're going to have pole, probably about 3. They don't have to be necessarily attached, but you want to be able to jump over. It all makes sense when it's built. It's a bit hard to imagine what I'm here actually trying to conjure up in my mind. So we're gonna just plop these in. Oh, that one's a bit too thick for my hole. All right, we're gonna have to go in the back end, guys. We're going in the back end. Gonna have to widen these holes, obviously. So I'm just gonna plop these in just so that they sit there, and I know what my idea is. Not gonna worry about putting anything into the holes for the ramp. So unfortunately, episode 2 wasn't as much of a progress as I was hoping. We got the holes done. I cleared the property a little bit, which might not have helped my cause now towards the end regardless. But we're starting to see how it can sort of start taking shape. It sort of just looks like a track at the moment, but once you get the poles coming through, and if we end up getting the treated pine posts and they sit in, they will for one look a bit neater, but also it'll have its purpose. And I might chuck some camouflage netting on over all the stuff and everything too, so make it all look pretty. So we can see we got over, under, and then when we get to this section here, you can do a bit of a run up. We might even be able to pull this back a bit, which means I'll have to redo the holes. But this is going to be our ramp. Climb up to about here, jump off, and then we're gonna have a platform probably like yay high, probably roughly where my head is, and then the rope traversal, because obviously you need to have enough room to sort of be hanging off it too. So that's the plan of it all, plan of attack. We're gonna end episode 2 right here, and episode 3 is gonna be building. So get excited for episode 3, because episode 3 is gonna be either building with these or building with the pine logs and all that, if we can get them, and we'll figure it out from there. I'll catch you all next time.